What if I told you that a stretch of water just 21 miles wide on the other side of the world is one of the biggest reasons your grocery bill looks the way it does right now? We're talking about the Strait of Hormuz. And no, this isn't a video about gas prices, or at least not just gas prices. This is about fertilizer, the stuff that grows your food, and how one of the most overlooked choke points on the planet has a direct line to the price of every bag of corn, wheat, and soybeans at the market. Stay with me, because this connection is way closer to home than most people realize. What is the Strait of Hormuz? The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran and Oman, connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and eventually the open ocean. It's roughly 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, and yet about 1/3 of all global seaborne oil passes through it every single day. That's somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million barrels of oil per day through a gap you could drive across in under 30 minutes. But here's what most people don't talk about. It's not just oil. The Persian Gulf region is also one of the world's largest producers and exporters of fertilizer, especially nitrogen-based fertilizers like urea and ammonia. And almost all of that product has to leave through the same narrow exit. So when geopolitical tensions flare in that region, and they do regularly, it doesn't just send shockwaves through energy markets, it sends shockwaves all the way to your farm supply store. To understand why this matters so much right now, we need to rewind a few years. Before 2021, fertilizer prices were relatively stable. A ton of urea, the world's most widely used nitrogen fertilizer, was running somewhere around $200 to $300. Anhydrous ammonia, another key input, was in a similar range. Farmers budgeted around it. It was a known cost. Then everything broke at once. First came the pandemic supply chain collapse. Shipping containers were in the wrong place. Port workers were sidelined, and logistics costs exploded globally. Fertilizer, like everything else, got caught in that crunch. But the real gut punch came in early 2022. Russia invaded Ukraine, and that matters enormously for fertilizer because Russia and Belarus together account for roughly 40% of global potash exports, and Russia alone is one of the top exporters of nitrogen and phosphate fertilizers. Overnight, that supply was sanctioned, restricted, or simply too risky to buy. The result? By mid-2022, anhydrous ammonia had surpassed $1,600 per ton. Urea cracked $1,000 per ton. Prices had roughly quadrupled in under 2 years. Farmers who'd locked in contracts were okay for a while, but anyone buying on the spot market was getting crushed, and those costs don't just disappear. They get passed downstream into the price of grain, livestock feed, and eventually everything on your plate. Since then, prices have come down from those peaks. But here's the thing, they have not returned to pre-2021 levels. We're still running elevated compared to where the market was just 5 years ago. The system got a shock, and it hasn't fully recovered. So where does Hormuz come back into this? Here's the piece most people are missing. While everyone focused on Russia and Ukraine, which was absolutely the dominant story, there's a parallel vulnerability that gets almost no coverage: the Persian Gulf's role in global fertilizer supply. Qatar is the world's largest exporter of natural gas, and natural gas is the primary feedstock for making nitrogen fertilizer. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, and Iran are all significant fertilizer producers in their own right. And here's the kicker, nearly half of all urea traded globally originates in the Middle East. All of it has to leave through the Strait of Hormuz. That means any disruption to that waterway, military conflict, a blockade, even just credible threats, doesn't just spike oil prices. It cuts off a massive share of global fertilizer supply at the source. Traders know this. The moment tensions escalate in the Gulf, whether it's Iranian naval exercises, tanker seizures, or military posturing, fertilizer futures move. Farmers and agricultural buyers have learned to watch that strait almost as closely as energy traders do. And the scary part is, the infrastructure that makes this choke point so critical isn't going anywhere. There's no easy alternate route. There's no backup strait. If Hormuz closes, even partially, even temporarily, markets feel it within days. So let's bring this all the way back to where we started, that grocery bill. When fertilizer prices go up, farmers face a brutal choice: Pay more for inputs and hope prices hold, plant less, or pass the costs down the chain. Usually, it's some combination of all three, and when that happens across thousands of farms, across dozens of countries, food prices follow. The Strait of Hormuz is 7,000 miles from most of our dinner tables, but it is not disconnected from them. It's one of the most important 21-mile stretches of water on Earth, not just for energy, not just for geopolitics, but for the basic economics of feeding people. The next time you hear about tensions in the Persian Gulf and think, well, that's far away, remember fertilizer. Remember that the price of your food has a geography, and that geography runs through a very narrow strait. If you found this useful, subscribe. We will start covering hidden economic connections that actually affect your daily life. Hit the like button if this was new to you, and drop a comment. Did you know about the fertilizer connection before today? I'd actually love to know.